When Diego Martinez, a 32-year-old security guard, saw that elegant woman's credit card get declined at the café on Gran Via, he didn't hesitate for a second. He took out his last €3 and paid for the stranger's coffee. "Don't worry, ma'am, it happens to anyone," he said with a kind smile. What Diego didn't know was that the woman in the gray suit and leather handbag was Carmen Vasquez, CEO of Vasquez Holdings, one of the most powerful companies in Spain. She was going through the worst crisis of her life, and that €3 gesture would forever change the fate of both of them. Because sometimes, kindness toward a stranger can open doors that even millions cannot. Madrid, 8:30 in the morning. Gran Via was pulsing with its usual frantic energy. Diego Martinez, 32, was walking toward his post at the El Corte Inglés department store, wearing his blue security guard uniform. He'd started his shift at 6 a.m. and was already on his second round of the day. Diego hadn't always been a security guard. 3 years ago, he'd been a promising computer engineer, but the economic crisis and a series of layoffs had forced him to reinvent himself. Despite everything, he always kept his trademark smile and natural kindness, which made him well-liked by all the local shopkeepers. As he passed by Café Central, his little spot where he grabbed churros every morning, he heard a flustered voice coming from inside. "I'm sorry, ma'am, but the card was declined again. Maybe you can try another card." Diego stopped and looked through the window. An elegant woman around 35, with long blonde hair and a perfect gray suit, was nervously digging through her brown leather bag. She had the air of someone used to success, but at that moment, she seemed completely lost. "I don't understand," the woman murmured. "Everything was working yesterday." Diego saw the embarrassment on her face as other customers began to stare. She checked her phone, obviously looking for her banking app, but her expression grew even more worried. Without thinking twice, Diego walked into the café. "Excuse me," he said to the waiter. "How much does the lady owe?" €3 for a coffee with milk and toast," replied Paco, the owner, who'd known Diego for years. Diego pulled out his wallet. It held exactly €8. Everything he had left until his next paycheck at the end of the week. Without hesitating, he handed Paco €3. "Please, ma'am," he said, turning to the blonde woman. "Don't worry about it. It happens to anyone." The woman stared at him in disbelief. "But you can't, you don't even know me." "Exactly," Diego smiled. "That's what makes helping strangers so nice. Today I help you. Tomorrow, maybe you help someone else." Carmen Vasquez, that was her real name, was speechless. For years, she'd been surrounded by people who wanted something from her, who courted her out of self-interest. This stranger in a security guard uniform had just done something completely selfless, and it moved her deeply. How can I repay you?" she asked, her voice breaking. "By having a good day," Diego replied, already heading toward the door, and maybe smiling at someone who needs it. As Diego left the café, Carmen sat frozen, gripping her coffee cup with trembling hands. It wasn't just the credit card problem that had her shaken. That morning, she'd received a call that had changed her life. Her company, Vasquez Holdings, was under investigation for alleged tax irregularities. Her accounts had been frozen, her reputation was in shambles, and she was alone against the world. Yet that simple act of kindness from a complete stranger had sparked a glimmer of hope she hadn't felt in weeks. Carmen watched through the window as Diego walked away down the street and made a decision that would change everything. That night, Carmen returned to her penthouse in the Salamanca district with a fixed idea in her mind. She had to find that man, not to give him back the €3, that was the least of it, but because in his gesture, she'd seen something she'd forgotten existed, genuine humanity. Sitting in her home office, surrounded by legal documents and court summons, Carmen opened her laptop. Her business skills included a notable investigative ability, a competency she'd honed over the years to vet partners and competitors. Café Central Gran Via, she typed into Google Maps. Then she called the café. "Hello, Café Central. Good evening. I'm the lady from this morning, the one whose card wasn't working. Ah, yes. How are you? Did you get the bank situation sorted out? Yes, thank you. I wanted to ask, the security guard who helped me, does he work nearby? Diego? Yeah, he's a good kid. He works at El Corte Inglés. Why? I wanted to thank him. Of course. You're very welcome. The next day, Carmen dressed completely differently. Jeans, sweatshirt, sneakers, and a brunette wig. She wanted to observe Diego without being recognized, to understand what kind of person he really was. She positioned herself at a café across from the El Corte Inglés entrance and began her observation mission. What she saw hit her deeply. Diego wasn't just a security guard. He was the human heart of that place. She watched him help an elderly woman with heavy shopping bags, patiently give directions to a confused family of tourists, and even stop to play for a few minutes with a crying child while his parents shopped. During his lunch break, Carmen followed at a distance. Diego went into a small restaurant, ordered only a plate of paella, clearly the cheapest item on the menu, and while he ate, he read a book on computer programming. He's studying, Carmen thought. He hasn't given up on his dreams. That night, Carmen did something she hadn't done in years. She went into an internet cafe and started searching for information on Diego Martinez through social media using a fake profile. What she discovered moved her even more. Diego had lost his computer engineering job 3 years ago, but instead of giving up, he'd taken the security guard job to support his family. His mother had health problems, and he was paying for her medical treatments. Despite his financial struggles, he volunteered on weekends at a local nursing home. This man, Carmen said to herself, has everything I've lost over the years. Humility. Generosity. The ability to see the good in others. That night, Carmen made a decision that would have surprised anyone who knew her. Instead of focusing solely on her legal troubles, she would find a way to repay Diego, but not with money. That would be too easy and probably offensive. She wanted to do something more meaningful, something that would change Diego's life, just as his gesture had changed her outlook on life. A week after their encounter at the cafe, Carmen had crafted a plan. As the CEO of a holding company that controlled several tech firms, she knew exactly how to help Diego without it looking like charity. Dr. Vasquez, said her assistant Marcos, walking into the office. I did the research you asked for on Diego Martinez. Tell me everything. Bachelor's in Computer Engineering with honors from the Polytechnic University of Madrid. Specialization in cybersecurity. He worked for 3 years at Texolution before the mass layoffs in 2021. Since then, he's been working as a security guard. No criminal record, obviously, excellent references from all previous employers. Carmen smiled. Perfect. Now listen carefully to what I need you to do. Carmen's plan was elegant in its simplicity. Her holding company was about to acquire a Madrid-based cybersecurity startup. Conveniently, they would be posting a job ad for a senior cybersecurity specialist, with requirements that perfectly matched Diego's profile. But Dr. Marcos asked, what if he doesn't respond to the ad? Carmen smiled mysteriously. Then we'll have to be a little more creative. 3 days later, while Diego was patrolling El Corte Inglés, an elegant woman approached him. It was Clara, the HR director of CyberGuard Madrid, one of the companies in Carmen's holding group. Excuse me, Clara said. Are you Diego Martinez? Diego was surprised. Yes, that's me. Can I help you? I'm Clara Ruiz, HR director at CyberGuard Madrid. One of our clients spoke very highly of you as a professional in the cybersecurity field. I'm sorry, I think there's been a misunderstanding. I work as a security guard. I know, Clara smiled, but I saw your resume online and your degree in computer engineering. We're looking for a senior cybersecurity specialist. Would you be interested in an interview? Diego stood there, stunned. I didn't send my resume to anyone. An outside consultant suggested your name. Apparently, you made an excellent impression on someone in the industry. That night, Diego called his mother, his hands trembling with emotion. Mom, you're not going to believe this. I got offered an interview for a computer engineering position, after 3 years. Oh, my son, that's wonderful. But who recommended you? I don't know, Mom. They said someone in the industry spoke highly of me. Maybe it's fate. Carmen, listening through Marcos, who had discreetly recorded the phone call from the café below Diego's apartment, felt tears in her eyes. He's so happy, she thought. When was the last time I made someone that happy without wanting anything in return? The interview was scheduled for the following week, and Carmen personally made sure everything went perfectly. Diego was never to know that behind this opportunity was the woman from the café, the one he'd helped without asking for anything. But fate had a surprise in store that even Carmen hadn't foreseen. The day of the interview, Diego woke up at dawn. He'd ironed his only good suit and studied for an entire week, reviewing everything he knew about cybersecurity. He was nervous but determined. Carmen, for her part, had decided to attend the interview in person. She couldn't resist the temptation to see Diego in his professional element. She'd hidden herself in the adjoining conference room, under the pretense of preparing other documents. Mr. Martinez, Clara began, tell us about your experience in cybersecurity. Diego started speaking, and Carmen was fascinated by his competence and passion. He wasn't just technically good, he had an ethical vision of information security that was rarely found in the industry. I believe cybersecurity isn't just about protecting data, Diego said. It's about protecting people. Behind every computer system are human lives, families, dreams. When we protect a system, we protect all of that. Carmen felt a chill. It was exactly the kind of mindset she looked for in her best employees. The interview was going perfectly when the unexpected happened. Diego's phone started ringing insistently. Sorry, he said, embarrassed. I usually keep it off, go ahead and answer, Clara said kindly. Hello? What? Mom, calm down. What? An ambulance. I'm on my way. Diego went pale. I'm so sorry, I have to go. My mother was taken to the hospital. Can we reschedule? Of course, Clara replied. Go, don't worry about the interview. Diego ran out, and without a second thought, Carmen followed him. At Ramon y Cajal Hospital, Diego was racing through the hallways looking for his mother. Carmen followed at a distance, her heart aching with concern for this man she had come to respect so deeply. Mr. Martinez, a doctor said. Your mother fainted, but she's stable. However, she's going to need urgent surgery. How much will it cost? Diego asked, his voice choked. With insurance, your portion will be about 15,000 euros. Diego sat down on a bench, his head in his hands. Carmen knew that with his security guard's salary, that amount was impossible. It was at that moment Carmen made the most important decision of her life. She couldn't stay hidden any longer, she had to act. She approached Diego. Excuse me. Diego looked up and recognized her immediately. You, the lady from the café. Yes, Carmen said softly. And I have a confession to make. I don't understand, Diego said, looking at Carmen in confusion. What are you doing here? Carmen sat down next to him on the hospital bench. Diego, I need to tell you the truth. I was the one who set up that job interview. What? I'm Carmen Vasquez, CEO of Vasquez Holdings. CyberGuard Madrid is one of my companies. Diego stared at her in disbelief. But why? I don't understand. Carmen took a deep breath. That day at the cafe, when you paid for my coffee, I was going through the darkest moment of my life. My company was under investigation. My accounts were frozen. I thought I'd lost everything. Your gesture reminded me that selfless kindness still exists in the world. €3, Diego murmured. You did all this for €3? Not for the €3, Carmen smiled through tears. For the kindness. For treating me like a human being when my whole world was falling apart. You didn't know who I was, how rich or poor I was. You helped me simply because it was the right thing to do. Diego shook his head. But the job. I don't deserve all this. You're wrong, Carmen said firmly. I had your background checked. You are extraordinarily qualified. I just connected you with the right opportunity. You passed the interview on your own merit. And now? Diego asked, glancing toward the operating room where his mother was. Carmen pulled out her phone. Now I let you focus on your mother. As for the medical expenses, Vasquez Holdings has an assistance fund for employees and their families. But I'm not officially an employee yet. You've been one since you accepted the interview, Carmen smiled. Consider this an advance on your salary. 3 hours later, the surgery on Maria Martinez, Diego's mother, had gone perfectly. The doctors assured them she would make a full recovery. I don't know how to thank you, Diego said, tears in his eyes. You know exactly how, Carmen replied. Stay the person you are. Keep helping strangers when they need it. Keep believing in the goodness of people. But you, why did you risk so much for me? I mean, I'm just a security guard who bought you a coffee. Carmen looked him in the eyes. Diego, in my life I've met thousands of people. Businessmen, politicians, celebrities. But most of them wanted something from me. You were the first person in years who gave me something without asking for anything in return. You gave me back my faith in humanity. That night, as they walked back from the hospital together, Carmen and Diego strolled through the streets of Madrid, talking like old friends. Two completely different worlds that had come together through a single act of kindness. You know what I think? Carmen said. I think we were meant to meet. You needed an opportunity. I needed to remember what really matters in life. Diego smiled. My mom always says kindness is the only investment that never loses value. Your mother is a wise woman, Carmen replied. And she raised an extraordinary son. 6 months later, Diego Martinez had become one of the best cybersecurity specialists in Madrid. His ethical approach and dedication had made him valuable not only to CyberGuard but to Carmen's entire holding company. Carmen, for her part, had overcome the legal crisis she'd faced. The investigation had proven her innocence, and her company had come out stronger than before. But more importantly, she had changed as a person. Diego, Carmen said during one of their weekly meetings. I have a proposal for you. I'm listening. I want you to become the director of a new project, a corporate social responsibility program that helps young, struggling talents find job opportunities. Diego smiled. A way to multiply what you did for me. Exactly. We'll call it Project Café. Small gestures that change big lives. A year later, Project Café had helped over 200 young people find skilled jobs. The story of Carmen and Diego had become legendary in Madrid's business world, not because of the millions involved, but because it proved that kindness is the most valuable currency in the world. You know what I've learned? Carmen said to Diego at the inauguration of Project Café's new training center. What? That buying a €3 coffee can be worth more than any multi-million euro contract. Because when you invest in people's kindness, the return is infinite. Diego looked at the room full of young people beginning their free professional training. And I've learned that sometimes helping a stranger means helping yourself without even knowing it. Diego's mother, fully recovered, was in the front row, beaming. My son, she said to Carmen, always told me that kindness is contagious. Thank you for proving him right. Carmen shook Diego's hand. Thank you for teaching me that true success isn't measured by what you accumulate, but by what you give. Their story showed that sometimes the smallest gesture can create the biggest impact. And that in a world where everything has a price, kindness remains the one thing that can't be bought. It can only be given and received, creating an endless chain of good that transforms lives, one cup of coffee at a time. If this story moved you and made you believe in the power of kindness, leave a like below. I want to hear from you. Have you ever made a small gesture that had unexpected consequences? Do you believe that kindness toward strangers can really change the world? Tell me your stories of kindness that created miracles in the comments. If this story touched your heart, hit like. If you believe small gestures can create big changes, subscribe so you don't miss stories that prove kindness always wins. Share this with someone who needs to believe in the magic of everyday kindness. Comment kindness is contagious if you also believe in the power of small gestures. Remember, in a world that often seems cold and distant, every one of us has the power to be someone's ray of sunshine. Sometimes, all it takes is the price of a coffee to change a life. And who knows? Maybe that stranger you helped today will be the one who changes your tomorrow. See you in the next video with another story that will make you believe in the magic hidden in everyday acts of kindness.